In your headlines, a motor vehicle collision this past Saturday led to the recovery of an illegal firearm and ammunition. InterHealth Canada TCI Hospital will soon have a new MRI machine. And the TCI Integrity Commission is hosting an integrated marketing communication for behavioral impact. From the PTV Broadcasting Headquarters in Providencial is your number one source for news. I'm Erica Pinales, delivering the latest from across the country this Friday, June 17th, 2022, right to your door. Newswatch starts now. In today's top story, a motor vehicle collision this past Saturday led to the recovery of an illegal firearm and ammunition discarded in nearby bushes. Take a look.
Over the weekend, police recovered a loaded high-powered gun near the scene of a two-vehicle crash along Millennium Highway in Blue Hills. According to police, the collision occurred on Saturday at about 12:37 a.m. Officers on patrol were immediately dispatched to the scene when they made initial inquiries that revealed that one of the drivers involved in the accident fled the scene in a separate vehicle. The officers reportedly saw the driver, who had remained on scene, limping as a result of the collision. However, he refused medical assistance, despite complaining of pain. Police made further inquiries and learned that the driver was not the holder of a valid Turks and Caicos Islands driver's license. As a result, he was warned of intended prosecution for the offenses of unlicensed driving and use of a motor vehicle without insurance. Some 20 minutes later, while still on the scene, officers received certain information from the 911 control room that led to them calling for support from other officers. Police then conducted a search of the surrounding area of the collision site, and during the search, they recovered a long-arm firearm with a magazine loaded with ammunition. The driver was cautioned and arrested for carrying a firearm and ammunition. He is currently in police custody as the investigation continues. Acting Commissioner of Police Rodney Adam commends his officers for their outstanding work, with special mention for the Force Silver Commander at the time, whose leadership and diligence effected the safe recovery and removal of this high-powered illegal firearm, which has no place in the community. Adam says this is another success as the police force continue to work to keep all communities safe. For PTV News Watch, I'm Delana Isles.
The TCI Integrity Commission is hosting an integrated marketing communication for behavioral impact follow-up behavior change seminar. We bring you the details. The Turks and Caicos Islands Integrity Commission core function is to promote integrity, honesty, and good faith in public life. Hence, inherent in its role in dealing with anti-corruption is infused with behavioral expectations, where specific behavioral outcomes are ultimately and desired end result, influencing the mindset and its processes to transition from knowing to doing what is right. This integrated marketing communication for behavioral impact follow-up behavior change seminar is purposefully directed at developing a completed communication plan. A subset of the participants' personnel from some ministries across government sectors and community leaders or church representatives who received their certifications last year will contribute towards completing this process. Purportedly, participants will further develop and transfer their skills in applying the 10-step communication for behavioral impact approach to designing a strategic communication plan for behavioral impact regarding reducing corruption in the Turks and Caicos. Participants and the consultant will also visit and engage in conversations with various departments using specialized communication tools learned during the seminar. By the end of this follow-up workshop, the working team of participants working along with the consultant will contribute to a completed behavioral plan for presentation to the Integrity Commission for approval and implementation. The seminar will focus on incorporated integrated communication marketing, which has been a proven approach to bridging the knowledge or action gap and achieving behavioral results in health and other development programs. We welcome consultant Dr. Everil Hossein again to the Turks and Caicos Islands. Dr. Everil Hossein is a senior communication advisor or consultant from the World Health Organization. He is also a communication consultant to the UNICEF, UNFPA, UNDP, and UN Women President, the Combe Institute, and anticipate a productive and meaningful follow-up seminar. It's time for a quick break. More News Watch when we return.
This is a reminder that all PTV service accounts are due on the first day of each month. Accounts should be brought up to date by the 28th of the month to avoid disruption in service. Payments may be made on our office at Stubbs Diamond Plaza, Providenciales, Mides Plaza, North Caicos, and Airport Road in South Caicos. Payments may also be made online using Scotiabank, CIBC First Caribbean Bank, and Royal Bank of Canada. Please allow 3 business days for online payments to be processed. We thank you for your cooperation.
Welcome back to Newswatch. InterHealth Canada TCI Hospital will soon have a new MRI machine, a development expected to significantly reduce wait times for patients visiting the Cheshire Hall Medical Centre. More in this report.
The hospital is in the process of replacing its 12-year-old MRI machine with a state-of-the-art GE Signa 1.5 Tesla technology. The Turks and Caicos Islands Hospital is the first hospital in the region to receive an MRI machine with GE's installation of artificial intelligence, which allows the imaging department to stay at the forefront of imaging technology while continuing to offer patients a wide variety of MRI scans. So far, the diagnostic imaging team has completed training from GE in using the equipment and its various software applications. Through a virtual and theoretical approach, the team received a review of MRI safety recommendations that the American College of Radiology developed and the various restricted access zones in the MRI environment. Certificates were given out upon completion. Manager of the imaging department, Sandra Burgess, says the hospital is fortunate to have a community that supports staying up to date with the latest technology. She promises that patients won't find a better MRI than what will be installed at the TCI hospital. Quote, ensuring we have state-of-the-art equipment is only part of the job, but having the best people to run our equipment is just as important. Our imaging technologists are qualified, each holding additional certifications in the imaging field. They are some of the best you'll find, and we are fortunate to have them all. With their skills, each of these technicians is greatly valued. End quote. Radiologist Dr. Barry Taylor has been certified as an MRI medical doctor, and Imaging Department Manager Sandra Burgess is a certified MRI safety officer. This certification focuses on many aspects relating to the safety practices of the MRI environment, including basic MRI physics relevant to MRI safety, static field, among others. The biomedical engineering team at the hospital is also completing the MRI safety course, with all hospital staff to follow. For PTV News Watch, I'm Delana Isles.
In this story, we look into some activity which occurred yesterday at the Providenciales International Airport. Newswatch with the latest. At the Providenciales International Airport, industrial action occurred without any formal notice issued to the TCIAA, and in response to a recent announcement by the TCIAA to its staff that it was immediately introducing a phased salary increase to all staff. Concerning the industrial action taken by firefighters yesterday across the TCIAA, and in the wake of various news and social media circulars reporting to properly understand the situation, the TCIAA wishes to advise that it has and continues to prioritize improving work conditions and salaries at the TCIAA. To this end, the fire service received a 15% increase to be applied to all staff within the department. The announcement advised that this 15% increase was the first step of a two-part process leading to the introduction of a salary grading, during which time an additional increase was to be anticipated. To prepare for the introduction of the salary pay grade scale, the TCIAA proposed in its budget for the 2022 to 2023 fiscal year an additional sum to be reserved to meet the demands of the salary increases once they occurred. The Turks and Caicos Islands government approved this provision during its 2022 budgeting session. The TCIAA continues to review staff salaries for the purpose of implementing a grading scale which meets the ethics of both staff remuneration and the fiscal management of public funds. The TCIAA will continue to work with its team members, including the fire service, to wholly and adequately address salary and other concerns affecting the work environment. It is important that stakeholder and the public are aware of the open and transparent manner in which the TCIAA endeavors to address these legacy staff issues. Notably, the TCIAA has recently broken ground for the construction of a new fire hall and air traffic control tower, another effort being taken to improve conditions at the TCIAA. It is further hoped that the anticipated redevelopment of the Providenciales International Airport would address several other workplace issues which both the board and management of the TCIAA share concerns about with its staff. The TCIAA thanks the Honorable Deputy Governor, the Honorable Premier, and the Honorable Minister for Border Services for being part of the discussion with the fire service this morning. Together with the Turks and Caicos Islands government, the TCIAA remains committed not only to the safety of aircraft, passengers, staff, and other users of the airport, but is genuinely committed to redeveloping the TCIAA into a desirable and model work environment. Addressing all of the legacy issues will not be an overnight fix, but the TCIAA remains committed to doing it because, in all honesty, our staff deserve it. Don't touch that remote. We'll be right back. Coming up next is your weather forecast.
This is a reminder that all PTV service accounts are due on the first day of each month. Accounts should be brought up to date by the 28th of the month to avoid disruption in service. Payments may be made on our office at Stubbs Diamond Plaza, Providenciales, Mides Plaza, North Caicos, and Airport Road in South Caicos. Payments may also be made online using Scotiabank, CIBC First Caribbean Bank, and Royal Bank of Canada. Please allow 3 business days for online payments to be processed. We thank you for your cooperation.
Here's your weather forecast for June 21st, 2022. For the nation's capital, Grand Turk, on Tuesday, mostly cloudy skies, high 84, low 79, winds east at 10 to 15 miles per hour. For South Caicos, mostly cloudy skies, high 84, low 78, winds east at 10 to 15 miles per hour. For North and Middle Caicos, partly cloudy skies, high 84, low 77, winds east-northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. For Parrot and Pine Key, partly cloudy skies, high 84, low 78, winds east-northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour, and on Providenciales, partly cloudy skies, high 84, low 78, winds east-northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Now for your sunrise and sunset. Sunrise at 6:08 a.m., sunset 7:36 p.m., and for your high tides and low tides 2:08 a.m., 2:49 p.m., and low tides 8:26 a.m., 9:05 p.m. And for your hurricane outlook for the North Atlantic, Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico, tropical cyclone formation is not expected during the next 5 days. And that's it for your weather forecast and hurricane outlook. We'll be right back for more News Watch.
Here at People's Television, we're more than just your leading news and entertainment services. We are
spreading the gospel.
We are breaking barriers.
We are preserving the culture. Each one, teach one.
We are committed to excellence.
We're creating change.
We are creating memories.
We are the future.
I am PTV.
I am PTV. I am PTV.
I am PTV.
We are PTV.
We are continuing the legacy. We are PTV.
So many interesting stories have emerged this week, but here's another one that made this edition of The Real News.
The IMF is an international financial institution which promotes international financial stability, economic growth, and monetary cooperation, among other goals. In an interview with Honorable E.J. Saunders, the Deputy Premier and Minister of Finance, he explains why the study is being conducted.
The government, while we're doing well as a country in terms of earning revenue, large portions of the revenue, large percentage portions of the revenue are unpredictable. So as an example, stamp duty, which makes up a fairly big percentage of it, can be really high one year and another year can be very low. And so in order to be able to make the revenues of the country more predictable, meaning that we can have a pretty good idea of what it's going to be from year to year, we commissioned the study which the IMF is conducting. So we commissioned the study, again, with the IMF is conducting to be able to get an understanding on how we could come up with ways in which we could stabilize their revenues and have a better ideas in terms of how we could continue to grow, but do it in a manner that's predictable from year to year.
From the release that was published titled as The Tax Framework in the Turks and Caicos Islands, many persons claim to be confused as there was a focus on the possibility of introducing a broad-based consumption tax as value-added tax in the TCI.
Well, I don't think it's a matter of implementing taxes. We're looking at revenue measures, and so part of dealing with the cost of living is this exact same thing. Because you'd look at it and you'd say, wait a minute, how can we provide relief to our population? Where are they spending the money? Where are they being spending, like where's the cost coming in? Is the cost coming in at the port? So what can we do to reduce costs at the port? Where can we do to reduce costs in a different area? Where can we do, what we can do to reduce costs at the point of sales in the supermarket? And so these revenue measures is the exact same thing that allows you to have a better understanding of how you can reduce the cost to one segment and maybe have another segment coverage.
Although speculations arose on social media of the forms of direct taxation the government is considering, such as payroll tax and or property tax, the Minister of Finance says that this is not the case.
Well, we're not looking at any type of taxation right now. We're looking at the revenue measures. And again, it was a study that we conducted to say, how can we continue to grow as a country, but stabilize it, because it's concerning for us that there's a portion of the population that's paying and quote unquote taxes higher than they probably we would like for them to pay, but there's also a portion of the population that's paying little to no taxes for things like services, professional services. You know, architects, lawyers, and those things are paying no taxes. And so it doesn't mean that we're going to roll out taxes in that area or do anything in any area. We just want to get an understanding at this point of how the country earns money and where we could provide relief to our citizens, but without having to collapse the revenue. Like, we want to get to the country bringing in $500 million, which I've talked about, not at the end of this term, but at the end of in about 9 years.
The minister reminded that what's being conducted is a revenue measure, which is to see how relief can be provided to a portion of the population that most needs it.
What happened in this case is that the IMF, that's normally associated with taxes, ran around speaking with stakeholders. And some of those stakeholders figured, oh my goodness, it's going to be taxed. But the consultants, again, the IMF, job is to say, we're looking at these things. Here are the different options. VAT is a particular option. A GST is an option. Would you be amicable to this? What do you think about this? So they can come back to us and say, here are the different things we've seen happening. This is what your tax regime looks like. Here are our recommendations. But here's the feedback from the public. But some of the members of the public saw them and saw the options and say, oh, the government is considering this. The government hasn't considered anything as yet. The government has just commissioned a study to understand how our revenues are coming, where the revenue streams are, how consistent they are, if they're predictable, where we think that we're overcharging, where we think that we're undercharging in terms of taxes, and where we could provide relief to the public, the general public, but still not have to write that revenue, or where we can make it up in other areas.
Finally, the minister extended a few words to the general public.
Well, I want the public to know that, and some of the things that I've said before, is that when we came into government, the country was on track to do a little bit more than 300 million. But it's definitely less than 350 million in terms of revenue. My goal is to get it by the end of our term to at least 400 million, and then we're given a second term to get to 500 million. And why would we want to do that? Right now we have certain ratios, and we have to understand that we have certain ratios that we have to meet. And so what we could spend on civil servants and civil servant salaries and benefits, the cap is 40%. So if on a 300 million budget, that's 120 million that you can spend on it. On civil servants and their benefits. At 500 million, that's revenue, that's 200 million you can spend on it. So we can get, just in that alone, if we can get to 500 million, we can pay the civil servants $200 million in terms of their benefits. So imagine, that's a huge increase for the civil servants. That means that they don't have to be thinking that they're not making any money. That means we can do more for our teachers, we can do more for our medical staff, we can do more for the police, we can give everybody the equipment that they need, but we'll have more money to spend to take care of the country. So we will have a very nice manicured country. And when I say manicured, where the roads are really nice and there's sidewalks and there's landscaping, but all those things has to be paid for by revenues that are predictable. And we can't get to 500 million one year and then start doing those things, and all of a sudden the next year it drops back down to 300 because we don't have any understanding of it. So the more the country does, the better the country does. It means that the better we can do for our people, including the civil service who gets paid by government. So these are the sorts of things we want to do. So we want to get to a point where the revenues are sufficient enough where the country, we can keep the best country in the world, if not in our region.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of The Real News. I hate to leave you so soon, but of course, you can join us right back here every weekday at 6:30 p.m. and tap into our social media platforms at www.ptv8tci.com. I'm Erica Pinales, keeping you informed, updated, and affiliated. Until next time.